It's going to be so good for Taylor. She's going to love it. She is a girl who loves a grand purpose.
Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Buzz 711.
It's a big one, Jenny.
It's a big one. Do I know what the story is about now? Because I feel like I do. I feel like it's going to be them taking down Coil.
I have to say that this is definitively the beginning of you finding out.
Okay. All right.
There's a really good case to be made that this chapter is that moment, but I think I would make the case
you could put a little later.
It kicks off a series of things.
Okay.
But give us no more than one arc, and the answer will be yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. So, yeah, we are 13% of the way through this book, and that's the setup.
Yeah, I mean, it's really big. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Do you want to say anything about how you're feeling about it, or should we just get into the summary?
I think we should just get into the summary, and then I will say how I'm feeling about it. So, we get the Undersiders walking up to a deeply symbolic building that's still under construction, and Coil is in the basement. They go down through some, passageways and, through some guarded doors, and there are a bunch of Coil soldiers around. Also, the independent capes who work for Coil. There are some people who are neither soldiers nor apparently capes who are talking to Coil about, procedural logistic stuff, like replacing some soldiers, doing training exercises.
His suits.
Yeah, his suits. It seems like they're basically his employees. So the Undersiders go up to Coil, and he's like, okay, it's been a week. You've been recuperating? And they're like, yeah. He's like, okay, so I've been waiting for an answer. And Tattletale says, she says, we can't keep doing this, Coil. And basically her point is they've been put into too many dangerous situations that they've barely escaped from. And specifically, this last one was something that Coil really set up, didn't warn them about, and left them hanging, under attack for it. She says that the one holdout among them at the beginning of the week did change her mind. And Coil seems to know that that's Bitch. Mm-hmm. And Bitch is like, yeah, I mean, I want you to help with my dogs. I still don't really trust you, but whatever. But Tattletale says the rest of them have started having some doubts, including herself. And Coil admits that he didn't properly consider the consequences of going public with Empire 88's information at the time that he did. It sounds from the way he describes it like it was a project that was underway for years, finally came to fruition serendipitously at this time, and he chose to act. And in the future, if they sign on with him, he would never make a move that big without checking with them, checking with the Travelers, checking with the other capes under his employ, and hopefully they'd be able to point out some of these potential drawbacks, pitfalls, etc. He also says, as to her other point about it's just too dangerous, these situations, he says he wants to introduce them to one of his secret weapons. So he leads them farther into his complex, and basically he sets them up with saying, if I told you I knew where Kaiser was hiding with some of his lieutenants and I wanted you to carry out a nighttime ambush, you would be concerned about that, right? And Tattletale's like, yes. And he pulls out this girl who seems to be about 12 and says he wants some numbers, and she says, I want candy. And he says, okay, give me, they negotiate. He's going to ask her 5 questions in exchange for her candy. And he asks about the odds of success for the Undersiders facing Kaiser without him supporting them with his power. He's saying he's intentionally being vague about what his power does, but it seems like it's intended to boost the odds. And the girl rattles off the probabilities. It's 40-something% chance of success. And then he asks about the Travelers, who have slightly better odds. And Coil's like, yeah, the Travelers are really powerful, so that makes sense. But I found that your group is more affected when I use my power, which does answer some questions we've had about their close calls. So then he asks her for their odds when he does use his power. And she rattles off the odds, and they're lower. And he's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. what are the odds for the Undersiders if I don't use my power? And she's like, well, 12% success. And he's like, whoa, how could those numbers have just changed so quickly? He's like, I need to figure this out. Clearly something weird is happening. He asks Tattletale if she knows why, and she's like, no. And she tries to talk. He's like, no, just leave me for now. I need to figure this out. So the Undersiders leave, and Regent's like, what was that kid's deal? Is like her brain affected by using her powers? And Taylor's like, are you stupid? It wasn't candy. It was drugs. Like, girl is being given drugs by Coil in exchange for performing this service. And clearly, this is the girl who went missing. Remember how our bank heist didn't make the front page of the papers because there was this Amber Alert situation. We were sent on that job so that Coil could kidnap this girl. While the heroes were distracted with something else, the wards were distracted with us. That was why we were supposed to do that job that night. We helped make this happen. This 12-year-old girl has been kidnapped and is being fed drugs in exchange for her services. And we made that happen. And that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is such a big turning point in our perception of Coil. Mm-hmm. He's basically created his own Omelas here. He's like, I'm going to build this city. I'm going to make it better. There's going to be less crime. The crime will be more controlled and more humane, and the economy will improve and the infrastructure will improve. And it's fine if this child has to be like kept in the dark and fed drugs to help it happen.
What's one abused girl to make Brockton Bay perfect? Exactly. Get the ferry running again.
Taylor is never going to put up with Omelas.
Yeah.
Like, she's not walking away. She's freeing that kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's slightly different because Coil, like the building at the beginning of the chapter, is planning his Omelas, right? It's not like Taylor. Right. It's different than Taylor finding out that everything that she's, like she joins the wards and then she finds out that Armsmaster has this girl, in PRT headquarters, right? Like that's a very different type of vibe.
Coil has not taken power yet. He's just, the train is on the move.
Yeah, and what makes it personal is that she's complicit via, having helped with the bank job, joined the Undersiders, done all of that stuff. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
She's going to walk away. But she's not going to walk away. Sorry. She is going to convince the Undersiders to turn on Coil, but pretend that they're siding with Coil.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, it could go differently. She could try to convince the Undersiders to just turn on Coil, which would be dangerous and difficult. I'm not sure that would be very successful, especially with his power pushing the destinies, etc. But I could see her saying like, no, we need to take him down. We need to do whatever we can do. Because someone who would do this is not someone we can let rule this town.
Yeah.
And, screw like whatever he's planning for the town. Like, this is not conscionable.
Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like the Taylor we've seen the last two arcs, since she made her decision to be like, no, I'm all in on friendship, is like a Taylor who hasn't been prioritizing ethics.
Yeah.
I feel like because this,
Well, it's easy when you're fighting Empire 88, and the ABB.
Right. Because everything she'd been doing with these villains was basically for good ends.
Yeah.
And because it seemed like maybe Coil was actually going to be a good leader and going to do all these things that she really, really wants to happen.
And she did the bank job and the gala for insinuation reasons, not for the love of villainy.
Right, but even then, the cost wasn't that high. It wasn't a 12-year-old girl being kidnapped and fed drugs in the dark. Like, it was, some money that, the bank could handle that, and some humiliation, like, whatever. But now I almost feel like I was like a little unsatisfied with her being like, no, I want to be friends with the Undersiders, and not really having a way to square it with her ethics. I almost feel like that happened so that she could hang around long enough to find this out. And now I think she's going to be like, nope, we've like hit my bottom line. Like, this is my hard line in the rock. I am not crossing this. And I think maybe she has been with the group long enough and has made enough connections to members of the group that she'll be able to hold them with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels plausible, especially because it's not like the rest of them are like, no, Coil is perfect and great and we're so excited. Like, they all have had reservations. Clearly Gru is with Taylor on the caution reservations. Like, that was strongly implied in this.
Yeah.
Lisa basically said to Coil that she's one of the people with doubts. We didn't really get information on Regent having doubts about that, but he was the one who was like, what was with that kid? And she's like, are you stupid? And he like really seemed affected by what Taylor said. So even though I suspect he's one of the more callous among them, given his upbringing and what we've seen from him, it does seem like he is susceptible, or he may be susceptible to this line of argument that like, this kind of thing is not okay. And if he does this kind of thing and brags about it to us, we can't work with him. We can't let him rule.
Yeah.
And I think Bitch already doesn't trust Coil, and she was agreeing for practical reasons, but I don't think it'll be super hard to get her to switch sides.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, yeah, okay, everyone else wants this, and I guess he'll help my dog, so cool. Like, I don't think that's a stance that she can't be argued away from.
I suspect that she would be annoyed to have to change her mind again, but that's kind of
Yeah, but this is like a huge new piece of information. I also think that Taylor's the reason the odds went down.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Because when she first gave the odds, Taylor hadn't really put the situation together.
Right.
And so Taylor would have been, wholeheartedly fighting with them, alongside them, to take down Kaiser. But once Taylor realized, during the course of that conversation, she was never just going to obey Coil's orders and just go off and fight Kaiser, like, for him. Like, no, she was going to absolutely throw a wrench in the works. I'd be like, this girl,
Yeah, so, I mean, if that's true, then it's like, how much of the odds depend on Taylor? Like, what she brings to the
you
team.
take Taylor away.
Yeah.
And we've seen in so many fights that, like, every single Undersider was needed.
Right.
And they barely survived by the skin of their teeth and some interference from Coil's power, presumably. So you take that away. And also, you have a member of the team say, like, no, I'm not going because I can't work with this guy. It's not like everyone else will be, like, wholeheartedly jumping in. They might all decide not to go.
Yeah.
Maybe the 12% odds took into account the likelihood that they just wouldn't go at all.
Right.
The mystery that Coil is trying to solve right now, that he sent the Undersiders away to solve, is in fact the Undersiders. It is the conversation they're about to have, where Taylor's like, no, we take this guy down.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, what the heck? We're villains. And she's like, no. No, we're not.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know that she would... I think it would work against her to tell them of her insinuation plot.
Right.
But I do think, like, we just saw her already starting to work on Brian's conscience.
Right.
In subtle ways, but, like, I think that was real. And I think with something as big as a girl his sister's age having this done to her. Like, this is the man that he fought, right? This is his mom's boyfriend. Like, abusing a little girl.
Right.
Like, I don't think he would be a hard sell for, like, no, you have to turn on him.
Yeah.
I mean, there are obviously some practicalities to consider, like, is that going to get in the way of him getting custody of his sister? Certainly, if he turned on Coil, he would not end up with custody of his sister. So maybe there's some,
and you were saying,
long game.
You were saying a couple of chapters ago, right, you thought Brian was right in his assessment that Taylor was thinking him too honorable, right? So,
yeah, but I think, I mean, he's not a fixed point.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think that he wants to be honorable and that she was kind of calling him to look at himself and be like, oh, maybe I do need to hold myself to a higher standard.
Yeah. We sort of talked about Bitch as maybe being the one least invested either way. And so
she doesn't care about people that much.
But talk to me about Lisa and Alec, if you think that they're gettable the way Brian is, and for what reasons, or
It's hard to say with Lisa because there's so much about her we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't really know her underlying motivations. But she was really disturbed by what Coil did to Empire 88 and the effect it had on people who didn't enter the fray of their own volition. And that's really what this girl is. Like, she really falls into that category. This 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
So I think that Lisa feels like the villainy that they have been doing is okay under a sort of cops and robbers framework. And if it steps outside of that, it crosses a line for her. And she hasn't really had to reckon with, like, okay, well, when do I say, no, this is too much, I'm turning against it, I'm stepping back. But I do think the exposure of Empire 88 made her think about that.
It's knocking something loose.
It's put her in a position where she's like, oh, okay, Coil is doing stuff that maybe I'm not okay with. Okay, maybe I can stop him, whatever. But, like, this is something that, like, he's already doing. He's already been using them to accomplish. Like, she didn't know about it.
Yeah.
This kidnapping of a 12-year-old girl who did not become a cape voluntarily and is not acting independently or voluntarily. Like, if Lisa was upset about Aster being taken, how much more upset is she going to be about the abuse of this child?
Yeah, yeah.
And the ongoing, like, clearly Coil is never going to let this girl go. Like, she's too useful to him.
Yeah.
He's going to keep her forever and keep her addicted. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and just to say a little bit more about what her power is, he describes it as something, she calculates possibilities. We think she does it by seeing all the potential outcomes of an event in a fraction of a second. Her power categorizes these outcomes and helps her to figure out the chance that a given event will come to pass. It isn't easy for her, and I try not to tax her abilities.
So
but
kind.
You can surely see why this is so valuable.
I mean, yes. It is valuable.
Yeah. Some other observations about her power. It does seem like she might need like a visual or something to work with. Coil mentions, I showed you some pictures of Kaiser, which I thought was an interesting detail. Yeah, she has to know
the context a little bit, I guess.
Right. But the way that she's just able to be like she slightly modifies the question of like, oh, here's the percentage they all come back, and here's the percentage they come back, but some are hurt or injured, you know, like being able to get the distinct numbers about those different categories, because you're imagining all outcomes and then you can cluster them together. She also talks a lot about how using her power gives her really bad headaches. Mm-hmm. And it's so clear that, I mean, no detail about what the drug is, but she's like incredibly dependent on that and in a state of presumably feeling just whatever the withdrawal effects are from the drugs, and also being pushed to her natural limit in terms of like what her power does to her, like the headaches. Similar to, we've heard Tattletale talk about when I overuse my power, the headaches, or the way Regent, when he uses his power too much, he gets like a backlash, right? It seems like Dinah has a really, really, really strong divination type power. Yeah. And the consequences for her, aside from being forcibly addicted, are negative.
Also bad. Yeah. She reminds me of Spock in the original series of Star Trek, where it's like, they'd be like, what are the odds of this? And he would like reel something off, and I was always like, he's obviously making that up. Well, just because like the implication is like, oh, Vulcans are like so smart. Like there's no way to calculate that. It's way too complicated. You need a superpower, and she has that. Yeah. But I wonder if there was any inspiration there.
Interesting. Yeah. And again, she's young. She's had her trigger event, 12 or earlier, and we've heard before Vista is incredibly strong, also a young cape, right? So it kind of makes sense that someone this young would be this
Coil kidnapped her like 3 weeks ago at this point, maybe it was a month, but she probably didn't have her power for very long before then. But
right. There was no indication, certainly, girl with powers captured. Right. So, but I also understand, I don't know why you would keep that a secret.
No, that's true. Yeah, you wouldn't want to expose her. I do wonder then how Coil knew. It's possible that someone in her life did find out. I also, did Tattletale tip him off in any way? Yeah. She would feel extra guilty if that was the case. Yeah. Oh, so you asked me about Lisa and Alec, and I sort of answered about Lisa, where I feel like this steps outside of the cops and robbers things to an extent that she would not be okay with it.
Right.
So maybe it's actually less a case of her being disillusioned with like, oh yeah, it's all cops and robbers, and more like her taking a stand that like, okay, as long as it was cops and robbers stuff, that was fine, but this is not okay. Yeah. So that's Lisa. Alec, I don't know, because we haven't gotten much from him in terms of his ethics. We know that his father was pushing him to do things that betrayed his conscience. So he did feel like he wanted to have limits on what he would do. So I suspect here, like another kid being abused, being forced to do things that she doesn't want to do, being forced to live this really confined, abused life, I think would maybe press some buttons for him that not being okay with this. I think on his own, what he would do is maybe just be like, I don't want to be a part of this and leave. Yeah. I don't know if there are community ties at this point to like between him and the Undersiders that would make him want to stay. Like Coil said to him, what he wants is like wealth, leisure, comfort. This is not going to bring him those things necessarily. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily deprive him of those things, but if those are actually his motivations, this isn't really in line with it. So I don't know that Taylor would be able to easily convince him, but if everyone else does it, I also don't think that he's like gonna be like, no, I am gonna betray you all and side with Coil. Like, I don't think he cares enough to do that. He's still so much of a cipher, though. Maybe he'll surprise us in a good way. I
was kind of wondering why he was so blind to it.
That's a good point.
Right, given all the stuff you were saying, that he might recognize an abused kid. But in the function of the scene, he's sort of the only one who could be a foil for Taylor in that moment.
That is true.
It's maybe like he's a bit of a dumbass.
But also, maybe he didn't have any exposure to drugs. Like, he was living this really secluded life, like very sheltered in a way.
Yeah.
And Taylor's had all this exposure at school, but he's never gone to school. Like, maybe he
That's actually interesting. A sort of like, he's sheltered, and his first thought was like, oh, well, like, she's weird because people with powers are weird, and I've seen all of my, my weird siblings, and
I did have I was like, this writing is so weird. She's 12 and she wants candy, and then within like 2 pages I was like, oh, it's not candy.
Yeah. Well, do you want to walk through like how you felt getting through that scene, or like as things sort of clicked into place?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably around... I did not figure out that she was the missing 12-year-old. I'd forgotten about that thread, though once it came up, I was like, right, Ted sort of flagged that for me.
I mean, there's no way... We got Amber Alert, and then we got much later Missing Girl.
Right.
And the timeline isn't clear.
Yeah.
So, like, this is
But as
the
soon
third
as that's...
beat.
I was like, yes, okay. So I didn't put that piece together, but I was like, oh, this is bad. Like, I think I had the Omelas thought before, Taylor did her whole explanation.
Yeah.
Maybe, the third or second, whatever time she asked for candy, I was like, ooh.
There are just so many awful, like, chilling details in the description of the interaction between Coil and Dinah.
The first description of her is, like, the dark circles under her eyes. And I was like, oh, that doesn't seem good. But I still kind of wanted to believe good things of Coil because of the way he'd presented himself thus far. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, some people just have dark circles under their eyes. Maybe that's just, what she's like. And she asked for candy, and I was like, that's weird as a motivation for a 12-year-old. That's more like, a 5-year-old. And let me look back and see if there was a moment where I really realized. I feel like by the time she started to bite her nails, I had already guessed that it was drugs. Yeah. And that was just a reinforcement. Like, yeah, she's not doing great.
Right. She's not making eye contact. And Coil and Dinah have this really disturbing, like, perverted father-daughter vibe.
He calls her pet.
Right. He calls her pet. He's brushing hair out of her face. Right. Like, he puts his hand on her shoulder to steady her, but it's in a moment when he's like trying to get her to stop talking, and it says like, and he shook her a little bit, and when she bites her nails, he like
takes her hand.
He forces her to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Right. The way they sort of negotiate about like, okay, I need you to answer 6 questions and then you get your candy. And then she's like, no, 3, 5. I'm like, God, like that's how I argue or negotiate with my kids. But this is like, right. So like, it really is that dynamic, and it's not. And I say perverted. It's not perverted in like a sexual way. It's like
not as far as I can tell. No,
at least in this scene.
And he's telling himself that like he's trying not to tax her too much, and he's treating her as a valuable resource. But like, no, people as things. Yeah.
No, of course. But I'm just saying like that's that's the vibe I get off of it is like maybe in Coil's head he's treating her like his daughter, his precious daughter or whatever. But it's just that's not what he's doing.
Well, he does value her, but he values her as a thing.
Exactly.
And that's the Granny Weatherwax definition of evil is like treating people as things.
Yeah. And that's why Alec should see something here, right?
People as things.
I also
think
maybe
he just doesn't want to see it.
That's true. That's true. I also think this is... Do we even need to say why Taylor doesn't like this? Right? But like, in addition to the objective the objective evil of it, right?
She's
innocence in danger, children in danger.
And she has a thing about drugs.
Oh, yeah, exactly. She has a thing about drugs.
She's seen it destroy a lot of people.
Yeah. Her dad trapped her in her house, and that was the reason why she, ran away, right? Like, seeing that Coil is an abusive authority figure, right?
Yeah.
Like, these are just like all of Taylor's buttons are being pushed at once here.
I'm so agog. I did not see this coming, but it feels so narratively intentional that I hope this is what happens. I mean, could go in many great directions, but that Taylor was the heart that was placed into this group. And now she's going to be the one to turn it away from where it was going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she has formed these connections of varying strengths with all of them. And now she's going to change the destiny, really.
We talked about... If your theory is right, then she already has.
I mean, she already has. Yeah, she...
Just because if the numbers went down.
Well, yes.
Right,
no, you're right. Yeah. Yes, that is true. I mean, that's just for one specific fight. But yeah, we've talked before about how much effect she has on the narrative. And that's why she's such an effective main character, is that she does have these profound consequences of her actions that she can't always predict. Mm-hmm. And this is her coming face to face with one of the extreme unintended consequences of something that she contributed to. But I think this is a moment where she is going to have that huge effect. She is going to turn the Undersiders away from Coil. And I mean, I really don't know how it'll go, but if they're going to fight Coil, they're going to need allies. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about all this is I keep thinking but Coil will know. Coil will know. I'm like, no, Tattletale will know. But if Tattletale turns against Coil, Coil won't know.
Well...
I mean, he does have his odds machine, so that might give him some information.
How much of his valuable resource does he spend asking questions like that?
You mean of the girl?
I mean, how often does he go to Dinah and say, oh, what are the odds that Tattletale's planning to betray me? Oh, what are the odds that the Undersiders...
He couldn't possibly ask all of the, checking questions, like you said, the fact that it is so difficult for her is a really effective limit on his ability to know everything.
Yeah. And he is very confident, right?
Yes.
So
yes. He thinks he can change all the destinies.
He also says he's very cautious. So, I would imagine that he has asked precautionary questions before. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked, hey, Dinah, what are the odds of such and such event if I show you to the Undersiders? Right? Like that seems like the kind of thing that he might have considered ahead of time. Right. Yeah. Because I think he's so disturbed. Like he's very smooth and unruffled throughout the conversation.
But this really disturbs him.
But when the numbers drop, he gets upset. He starts losing his temper. He ends the conversation immediately to go deal with it. And so that suggests that there's a little bit of gum in the gears somewhere that he wasn't prepared for. But
he doesn't know that Taylor's a hero.
But he came into this conversation kind of prepared for it to go one way. And I feel like, similar to the limo ride, he's doing all of this very intentionally. This is his performance. And so, for the audience of his performance to be so vehemently against it and for him to miss it feels like a big mistake. But,
and I feel like he only misses their distaste because he's so disturbed by the numbers.
That's
and
really
of course,
interesting.
their distaste is what changes
the numbers. That's really
interesting.
Is the right? If not for that quirk of fate, maybe he sees in Taylor's face something that makes it harder for them to get out of the situation. So that does take me to a question, which is how do you play this with Coil if you're Taylor?
Taylor is not good at this kind of thing. Despite her having managed to infiltrate the Undersiders.
What I'm spelling out is you're in a sub-basement compound.
Oh, you mean if
surrounded
he doesn't,
with soldiers.
in that moment, if he didn't get distracted?
Right. I'm just saying, like, just in general, like, you can't be like, no, how could you do this? You know, not only will I not work with you, but I won't stand until, you know, this girl is free, right? Like, you're surrounded by all his soldiers and
I don't know.
other
I mean,
things,
Taylor is bad at interpersonal strategy, but she's also not stupid. Like, she wouldn't just say that.
Yeah.
She would go away with the Undersiders and say, no, we're not standing for this. Like, she's not going to do it there. She's going to make sure that Lisa verifies that no one can hear them. And, like, there's nothing spying on them. And then she's going to say what she really thinks about it. Yeah. And they're going to come up with a plan. I'm coming back to this, like, Coil didn't know that Taylor was a hero. Yeah. Like, he wanted the Undersiders to recruit someone. They recruited another apparent villain. The Undersiders don't know that Taylor came into the Cape scene being like, I'm going to be a hero. And if he had known, like he said in the limo, he's like, I don't know what you want. You're a mystery to me. And if he had known who she was, he would never have shown this girl to her like that. Right. He would have waited until she was in really deep. Right.
I guess maybe what I was getting at is, like, in what ways are they in too deep? Like,
I mean, they are in really deep.
Yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think the smart strategy is get some allies secretly, talk to Fault Line's crew. They probably would just want money, but you know what? They have $1.25 million in the bank now. Yeah. I don't know that they'd all want to part with that, but Taylor would certainly be willing to part with $250,000 to get Fault Line's crew allied with her. Like, get some allies. Probably you can't trust the Travelers, but, you know, try to shore up your own side. I think she'll consider talking to the heroes. I don't know where she'll land on that. Ooh. Because she doesn't want to betray her friends, and that might be more important to her at this point, but she might raise that possibility to her friends and see, you know, what they say. And I think we've already seen her do the insinuation thing once. I think maybe that's the way she goes, but with allies who are in on it with her, not alone relying on these people for her only friends.
That's, I mean, insinuation, inception. You know, we're just going one level up, one level deeper. Have to continue to pretend to be super effective supervillains until... Well, I mean, if they're going to take out Empire 88, sure, that's a great cause. Like, you know, it's not... It's not like they're going out kidnapping the 12-year-olds, but she's going to know that everything they do is in service of Coil rising in power. Yeah. And so they're going to have to be actively undermining that in some way. Yeah. And it really makes a difference having this girl, you know, suffering. Yeah. You know, it's just the perfect illustration. Every minute that passes, right? It's not like you're like, oh, well, like, I'm working for the greater good, you know, in the abstract, and like, you know, all death by 1,000 cuts. It just got this one girl is being tortured every single day, every minute that I'm not doing something. And that, you know, not to say that there won't be a plan, but it's like, it's not going to be instant, right? Like you're saying, they need allies, they need other things. Yeah. And so, like, but the stakes are immediately so much higher because every hour that passes is another where Dinah is trapped. And this is such a more interesting and protagonist-driven plot if Coil is now the enemy. Because if they were going to side with Coil, it's like, okay, well, where's the story? They're going to help him get to power? Like, that's not... Yeah. That's not Taylor's story. Yeah. Now, if they are keeping Coil from rising to power, that's Taylor's story. Like, that's a story you need to be in their heads for. That's a huge obstacle to overcome. Yeah. What an antagonist. The boss. What else did you observe about Coil in this chapter? Anything else jump out to you? I mean, I definitely picked up on the, like, gross paternalism towards this girl he's abusing. The other thing that I noticed was when the soldier goes to fetch Dinah, he puts out his cigarette on the wall. Oh, and Coil then goes to, like, clean up the ash. And the way that I'm interpreting that, in addition to the way he treats Dinah and the other Undersiders, and also the way he interacts with his suits, he's very personally involved. Like, he's getting folders of potential new recruits, and he's overseeing the different squads.
Right, and he's the one they call when they're like, we need a doctor. It's not like his assistant's assistant or something.
So it's to me, the through line to all of that is control freak. Like, just that
I did say that about him.
He's
in the
a
limo.
micromanager, right? Like, he needs to be involved at every step of the way.
Yeah, he cares about all the details.
Yeah. I also think the fact that he's so tight-lipped about his power is another reflection on that, because he's like, Tattletale starts to say something and he immediately cuts her off like, oh, and you still can't tell them what my power is. And then I think part of his mistake with Dinah is because he feels so clever that he's found a little loophole where he's like, okay, but how are they going to know that my power is so good if I don't want them to actually know what my power is? Oh, here's what it is. And it's going to be such a good demonstration, and the numbers are going to go up, and it's going to be, and then they're going to go take out Kaiser. You know, like, so it's all this
unrolling in his mind.
This clever little loophole with asking Dinah the questions. And then, of course, it all falls to pieces. But I mean,
talk about showmanship. Forget Coil, like Wild Bow, like the way those numbers went down. My gosh. No, but now if Taylor talks the rest of them into at least considering betraying Coil, Lisa will probably tell them Coil's power. We'll get to find out really soon, maybe.
That's true.
That might be really daunting, actually.
Yeah, so what did you make of the comment that the travelers who are already strong don't benefit as much from a use of his power? So, like, what is it about the Undersiders or about Coil's power that means it helps the Undersiders more? I
think what we've seen of the Undersiders is that they are really creative and resourceful.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, so fun to see in your protagonists. Yeah. There's a higher level of flexibility in the way that they fight, potentially. Okay. Like, they just make use of things that aren't even their powers. Like, I feel like half the time Taylor has gotten away or won, it's been not even using her power.
Yeah, she's got her pepper spray.
Yeah, she's got her pepper spray, she's got her knife, she's got, like, all these different things. She knee people in the balls. Like, I suspect that kind of thing is more easily influenced because it's like these tiny things that can make just enough difference if the odds fall in their favor.
Yeah.
And Coil, whatever it is that he does, somehow makes the odds fall in their favor. Sure.
So, like, higher variance, but if you give them a lucky break or two, they're always going to use it.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas possibly the travelers, because they're more powerful, don't need to do that kind of thing. They're just like, they've got a hammer, they're going to keep on hammering.
Right. I like that. I like that theory. That's great.
We need our scrappy underdogs. Undersiders to really make use of that. But that also means that if Coil turns against them, it's really bad. Because I've talked about how they keep winning. They keep winning and winning and winning. And it's got to be, at least in large part, because Coil was influencing the situation. The destinies, the outcomes.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they kept winning even when I felt like, well, they've got to lose at some point.
Yeah.
But now they might not have Coil on their side. I mean, I don't know that they're going to overtly not do that anytime soon. But, like, if they're working against him, they at least won't have him on their side.
Right.
And things might be a little dicier.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Ooh. Hope you're ready for Undersiders to losing.
I'm not ready for them to lose.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really rough.
I really enjoyed Coil's non-apology earlier in the chapter. I mean, he's showboating again. Like, he, of course, he leads them into this amazing underground lair that he's showing off. Interesting that this is going to be the Traveler's home base, or like half of it will be. I like that detail. He's like,
I missed that.
Yeah, part of the reason he's building the base is for the Travelers, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, he's got such confident body language. When Alec asks an impertinent question, he stops, and they also have to stop or else they'd run into him as they're walking behind him, right? And it's just fascinating the way that they come in with their objections, and then he's like, yeah, you guys are right.
Yeah.
I was working on this for so long and I made a mistake. I didn't see the bigger picture. He says, like, an apology is in order, but he doesn't say, I'm sorry, right? It's a very non-apology apology. And then, I I just feel like the thing he's saying, we're like, oh, I was trying to get the details on Empire 88 and it took me 4 years and Tattletale helped a little bit. And then just 2 weeks ago, I got this lucky break and I jumped on the opportunity and I just didn't think through what was going to happen,
Yeah.
And
he's very smooth.
Yeah, but I'd almost, isn't his whole pitch that he sees the big picture and, he's cautious and stuff? And so, this is a little out of character, but I'd almost respect him more. And I feel like the Undersiders would respect him more or think he respects them more if he just said, yeah, I knew it was a risk that you guys, it could have gone bad for you guys. But, I used my power to help you. And, let's say it was 50% odds and I took those odds, right? Whatever. If you work with me, then let's, we'll negotiate, right?
Yeah.
I feel like his apology is very dismissive, and even though he's saying you'll have a seat at the table, right, you'll have a say in all of my decisions, right, easier said than done, right, what recourse do they have if they sign up and get further in, and he'll
say very pretty words to them about how he should have done something different, and he'll do something different next time, and here's the reason he can't do something different now. You know?
And I don't know, on the other hand, it is also a good illustration of the problem that we surmise Empire 88 has, which is Coil can keep his soldiers and suits in line in a way that is genuinely harder to do with other capes, right? Yeah. So this dynamic of how do you build a Coil-like organization made up of capes.
Right. Which, that's what he's trying to do.
He's new at this,
trying to solve the problem. That's why he created the Undersiders and, fostered them up.
But it is kind of hard because, right, given what Tattletale's power is and given all this other stuff, right? So, to some extent, he is just sort of, improvising this getting capes to work for me strategy.
I gotta say, I feel like of all of them, Bitch is doing the best job judging his character.
Oh my god. When Taylor is voicing her objections, she's like, look, I like the plan. I just don't know if I can trust you. And I was like, yes, that is the most honest Taylor opinion.
Yeah. And then it turns out, no, you definitely can't.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of the Undersiders, right, so you're saying, the Undersiders are gettable. Something to support that is we skip all the planning and negotiation, and the Undersiders come into this with a unified front.
Yeah.
Right? They're willing to say yes, but, and Tattletale's the one who's going to be talking. But, she starts voicing their objections. We see that Gru and Taylor are nodding along. Pretty much all the Undersiders at some point speak up to basically say, hey, we have some serious reservations and we want to keep negotiating before we say yes. We want, and maybe Lisa was initially uncomfortable with going and saying all this stuff directly to Coil, or maybe they didn't all agree, right? They had to talk bitch around.
All come around.
Yeah, they did all come
side.
in, and there's no indication in the scene that they were not presenting a united front.
Yeah.
It's just the Dinah revelation at the end that spins them off into...
changes the odds.
Yeah, they're all looking guilty and upset. And I feel like good on them. I'm impressed that they're not thinking of themselves as having plot armor or anything. That they came in and they're like, hey man, this was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And this was on you.
That
and we're not doing
point.
This again. Right? I'm that's good. I'm glad they're thinking like that.
Also, just major props to the decision to just skip the week. Skipping a week between chapters of an arc is something we haven't really seen, I don't think, but loved it as a narrative decision, because we do just get to see sort of the fait accompli of this is what we've talked about, this is what we've decided, or this is what we're thinking. I guess it's that we haven't decided.
Right.
And we skip.
We could have had a whole chapter of Undersiders prepping for this conversation.
Yeah, but it's so
much better to get to
now,
the Dinah thing.
Especially because we're going to need to have a conversation now after the Dinah thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't need to have that conversation before because this is going to be very similar ground to that.
Yeah.
But with a huge piece of new information.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing that does feel a little bit... rushed is too strong a word, but a little bit like I wanted more was that there's no follow-up on Empire 88 explicitly in this chapter, except that Kaiser and some people are still at large. Yeah. And I kind of am like, but what was the fallout of that situation?
I know.
There were so many people on the field, right? there are the dynamics between Purity and Kaiser and all of that stuff. I'm sure we will get some of those answers.
I'm sure, yeah.
And it is so clear that the action of this arc is giving the Undersiders the ammo that they need to come into this conversation united.
Yes,
right?
Great point, yeah.
Showing them how dangerous it is, Coil, putting them at risk, bitch into her dogs, right? All of that stuff.
Sort of a big picture thought. This whole thing where they're, I predict, going to be opposed to Coil, it's going to be so good for Taylor. She's going to love it. She is a girl who loves a grand purpose. This is why she became a cape. She is just going to blossom under this driving purpose for her life.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know that it will make everything else not matter. Like, certainly her dad will still matter, but now she has, maybe she can't tell him because she doesn't want, Coil to find out, but like, now she has something she's doing that she feels really good about.
That's
I think she will.
Point.
That's, again, a prediction.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it'll make the bullies not matter. I think they could still mess things up for her.
Well, that's such a funny... The Omelas question is... How could you give up the city that we've built on top of this girl? She's just one girl. Taylor seems like the kind of person who's going to ask the opposite question. Like, what cost is it not worth paying in order to see this girl saved? Yeah.
It occurs to me that the Omelas thing is exactly the opposite of what Sophia was saying to Taylor. She was saying like, no. This all works because you stay in your place. You are a low creature and we, reign above you and you need to stay there. She's someone who would think like, oh, this girl, yeah, that's where she belongs. And Taylor is someone who's going to say like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in this. What an amazing twist. Really excellent chapter.
Yeah.
I feel like I've predicted enough stuff. I don't know that I have a ton to add to it.
Let me see if there are other questions I want to ask you or bits and bobs. We talked about the symbolism of the setting, the skeleton of the building, right? Both symbolic of the city has sort of stalled, but maybe there's a promise of future prosperity, maybe the prosperity that Coil will bring if we let him.
Not worth it. Worth it.
To get to the secret base, they have to literally go through the drainage system and get dirty for reals before they get metaphorically dirty.
Point.
I really enjoy the way Wildbow does stuff like that pretty much continuously. Because of this, Brockton Bay is such a vivid character, right? Like, all of the ways that as they explore the different parts of the city, it's with what Taylor's doing, what the Undersiders are doing, right? Like, I feel like the docks and the train yard and all this stuff, it really comes alive in my mind.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how much of the docks are left after Purity.
Yeah, I hope their loft made it.
Well, I don't know if the loft... Well, probably they would want to live in the loft. I don't know if they can do any real planning in the loft. I guess Lisa can tell them if they're being surveilled.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I had a couple other notes about the Undersiders, right? So Tattletale says she likes and respects Coil, right? In one of her little speeches earlier on, which is like, oh my God, must be so rough, right?
Yeah.
She's so guilty at the end. She's pale-faced. She won't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's really strongly affected.
I mean, at the end there. Yeah.
Part of why I think they're going to be gettable is like they're clearly all horrified by this, and I think without Taylor, they might all have found their own peace with it.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, what else are we going to do? Brian needs to keep doing this for his sister. Bitch only cares about her dogs. Lisa's the one who kind of got them into this situation. She's not going to back out now. Like, Alec is like, whatever, going to get mine. But with Taylor, I do think there's a chance. I don't think it's going to be automatic or immediate, but like, I do think she'll be able to turn the tide.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I like the pitch that you're making for where things are going to go.
That's what I want.
I like it. Another funny, I don't know, dynamic between the Undersiders and Coil, especially when Alec is like, yeah, but like, why should we trust you? Right? Like, they're such teenagers. Like, sometimes I forget, but like, this sort of like just openly questioning authority to its face is like, it's never a good negotiating tactic. Right? And I do.
Because Coil's like, there's not one thing I can ever do. You're just going to have to learn over time. Yeah, kid. Right.
This is the time when I'm most on Coil's side, is when he's like, okay, I gotta remember, these are children. They're gonna talk back. They're gonna be annoying. And he's
I
like,
think
no,
the fact that they're children is actually a big part of why he miscalculated in showing them this. Because he thinks like, oh, they're villains. But they're children. They're teenagers. They have only been doing villainy for a short time. They aren't bought in the way that like a 30-year-old would be bought into like, no, this is my life. I can't back out.
Yeah.
And they aren't as calcified in their viewpoints, I think.
Yeah.
And so seeing something shocking like this is going to have a bigger effect on them.
Yeah.
Than it would on someone twice their age.
That's true.
Total side note, but I feel like this is one of the episodes where like I talked like 3 times as much as you because you aren't allowed to make any predictions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I hope people like that. Sorry,
no,
people.
it's good stuff, Jenny. It's really good stuff.
I just have so many feelings about this. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, the last thing to say about the Dinah reveal, I love the way that we don't get Taylor's emotions until the end when she's sort of like letting them loose on Regent. Uh-huh. There's a little bit, a page or two into the scene when Taylor has like a sort of body language reaction.
Oh, yeah.
Where she looks away or something.
Yeah.
And so this is like when the full weight of it is hitting Taylor. You get a little bit of how she's physically moving, but then you don't get any commentary on it. You just get to be directly in her head, perceiving the things and having your own slow, horrified realization. And then it all gets crystallized at the end with Taylor letting her anger and nausea out as she is explaining, the last little detail, the culpability that this is the missing girl.
And this is something I've noticed before Wild Bow doing, is not giving Taylor's reactions immediately, kind of waiting and saving them and then getting into them later. Or sometimes just not having her think about something that we already know, or, she's going to think about it at a given point. The fact that it's not in the narration doesn't mean she's not thinking it.
Yeah. But just
very clear.
That you get put into Taylor's position, just reacting to what she's seeing. It draws you so much closer to her. Yeah. And it's just very effective because every person's going to pick up on it at like a slightly different chance. Yes. And so this just gives you the full range of like,
and once we've had this horror, then the reaction she has feels totally earned.
Yeah. It's just really well done. I was happy to see Circus show up.
Flirting with a soldier. She's like fully in, I think. I don't know if they're going to be able to win her.
Yeah. I had such a positive impression of Circus from her one previous appearance. True. So I was just happy to see her.
Maybe I shouldn't write her off.
The other thought is just like the notion that he is setting them up to take out Kaiser is like, wow, that is a big escalation.
Yes. Their odds are low without his help. Although actually not that bad, like 40-something%.
Yeah.
With his help, they're even lower. Oh no, they're even lower.
The numbers going down thing is so good.
We could just talk all night about how good it was.
It's one of the really iconic moments in the story of just like,
I love it.
I love it too.
You know what I hope? I hope they do end up getting some of Coil's soldiers on their side, and I hope Herman Snipes is one of them.
Ugh, yes. Maybe Herman Snipes is the redhead with the scar who Circus is flirting with.
Yes, they can both end up on the Undersiders' side. Yes.
Oh man.
Should we hear the first sentence of the next chapter?
Yeah.
I know there is a 7.12.
There's a 7.12. I am willing to tell you this is going to be the end of the arc.
Sounds about right. They're going to have like one discussion chapter, maybe, I guess. That's like my prediction. Anyway.
I'm just going to read you the first line.
Yeah.
Not the first paragraph, of course. The first line. Quote, "We're not to blame for what Coil did." End quote. I wish I could tell you who's saying that.
Okay, well, it's not Taylor.
The first line.
Unless it could be Taylor, if it's like, we're not to blame for what Coil did, but we are to blame for, it could be that that's the introduction to her saying they are to blame, but she definitely thinks they are to blame. So I suspect it's not her. It's not going to be Bitch. Bitch doesn't care to comment on that.
She doesn't talk like that either.
No, she doesn't talk like that. We're not to blame. Yeah. I feel like Lisa is my immediate thought. I feel like Brian wouldn't be as quick to say that. Like, it feels a little bit, like, authoritative in a way that doesn't sound like Alec. Though, I mean, I could see it being any of those three. But my money's on Lisa.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, and where do you think we get to by the end of the arc? You've teed up a conflict that could very well take up the remainder of Worm.
Yeah. I think in the next chapter, Taylor talks through, I mean, it'll take her a little bit of talking and thinking to get to what she wants to do, but she talks her way to a case for, we need to turn on him and we need to bring him down, and here is at least my initial plan for how to do it. And the others are shocked and disturbed and are thinking about it.
Okay.
I don't think they'll all sign on by the end of this arc. That feels a little fast, but it would be cool if they did.
Would be cool.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.